Selected 1. The big day, September 20th. Listen, please. The moment has arrived to recognize what has long been concealed in the heavenly rhythm. There is more to September 20th than just a day on a calendar. It is a divine signal that calls your name to be fully expressed. Under the surface of your life, something has been brewing, quietly moving in the background, and being planned by God's will rather than by human hands. This particular turning point in life holds a divine frequency that is intended to unite your previous hardships, current metamorphosis, and upcoming triumphs into a single divine revelation. This season isn't random at all. This development is not coincidental. The 20th of September is not an ordinary day. Long before you came here, a divine appointment was written for your emergence, exaltation, and eventual disclosure. I beg you from the bottom of my heart to read this message through to the end before we delve deeper into the reality of what this date means to you. What you're going to experience is not entertainment. All of the things you believe God was planning are spiritually confirmed. And let your desires reverberate throughout the cosmos by writing your best wishes in the comments section. Add 99 to your wishes as a symbol of fulfillment and a link to this heavenly moment. A season that is approaching divine manifestation and a cycle that is almost complete are symbolized by that one number, which is full of spiritual energy. One of the few people chosen to energize this shift is you. Additionally, putting your wand in writing lets the universe know that you are ready, aligned, and ready to receive. Select one now, such as this video. Let's get started. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Few others could see or even comprehend the silent preparation that has been going on throughout your life. You were being sculpted in silence, while others celebrated observable results. You were learning how to bear the burden of responsibility without praise, while others were rushing for attention. Every delay you've experienced was a placement rather than a punishment. Every setback was a necessary adjustment for the place you are currently being sent, not a sign of failure. And now, this time of year, this exact moment, is showing up as the payoff for all of the things you once believed were a waste. What you thought was denial was actually divine patience, a deliberate holding pattern utilized by God to prevent your story from ending too soon. September 20th is significant not just because of what it provides, but also because of what it signifies. This day marks the transition from the previous iteration of yourself, which was constrained by doubt, uncertainty, and self-doubt, to the awakened version of yourself that is no longer concealed by external factors. A performance is not requested at this time. It doesn't need you to demonstrate your value. It's asking you to acknowledge that your very existence is proof of what has already been planned for you. What is about to happen is more about alignment than it is about effort. This date has been divinely sealed for a manifestation that won't be postponed any longer, and you have been placed precisely. You could have attempted to generate opportunities in the past. When nothing seemed to change, you might have prayed, waited, knocked, pushed, and even sobbed in frustration. However, you have to realize that God has created some dates that work independently of your efforts. Rather than convenience, they're rooted in covenant power, not performance, is what makes them stand out. One such day is September 20th, which is a hint from the Spirit that your period of strong becoming is ending and giving way to a period of gracious receiving. It has not been easy to prepare. On other evenings, you thought your religion was falling apart. There were times when you wondered if you were merely chasing shadows or if you were really selected. But there was a sacred reason behind their silent conflicts. They showed you how to hear God silently. They instilled in you a strength that is famous without having to be loud. This moment is significant because of that inward change. Around you, the alignment on September 20th is not taking place. It's taking place via you, and that's why it's so strong. The days of waiting for a gate to open are over. You're the gate that fate is passing through. People have misinterpreted a lot of what has happened in your life thus far. All they've seen are pieces. They have observed the lengthy silences, the pauses, and the breakdowns. The heavenly plan that was taking place in the background, however, was invisible to them. You were being concealed in order to preserve you, not to be forgotten. The purpose of your separation was to set you apart, not to abandon you. There is no logical explanation for this type of situation. To truly comprehend this prophetic appointment, one must have firsthand experience. And on September 20th, that adventure starts. You're not coming out on this date to bless a non-existent version of yourself. It's here to meet the higher spirit you've developed through hardship and change. For the person who persevered in confusion, it is not a gift. For the one who persevered and emerged polished, it is a crown. That's why divine timing is so beautiful. You don't get it when you want it. When you're in a position to carry what's been waiting for you, it comes. Calendars don't affect God, but He uses time to facilitate revelation. Additionally, He has decided to use you to expose something that will change the tone of more than just your private life. This is not a private discovery. It is not a little one. The vibration of generations is carried by it. Not only are you blessed, being the one who bestows blessings on others is elevating you. The riches is not just monetary. It is also influential, spiritual, and emotional. There is an anointing of heritage associated with it. It was unable to arrive early because of this. You needed to develop into the type of vessel capable of handling things that others would mishandle. There is more to what you are entering than just a prayer answered. It is a real-life example of what God has promised. Furthermore, such guarantee is not nullified. It doesn't wait for approval. When the moment comes, it happens in ways that are impossible to stop with human reasoning. And this is the unique quality of September 20th. There is no need for compromise because it is a divine yes. It's not just for you that's happening now. It has to do with what needs to pass through you. This explains why you've been experiencing sudden restlessness, increased awareness, and inside pressure. What your reality is about to affirm has already reached your spirit. As a result of your actions, the change is not coming. It's coming as a result of your transformation in God's eyes. The identity God is prepared to display has taken the place of the one you formerly attempted to defend. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the Super Thanks button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but also the souls of many others through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's great design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Take action now. Share your blessings to exalt His kingdom, for you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. This abrupt emergence might be incomprehensible to the globe. Some would attempt to dismiss it as a coincidence. Others could try to use timelines or systems to explain it away. You'll know deep down, though, that it was never random. God was constantly involved, and all you have to do is recall the stillness you emerged from, the loneliness you experienced, and the tears that went unapplauded whenever someone attempts to downplay what's happening. Because those experiences shaped the individual who today enters September 20th with strength rather than pride. It will bear your name on the wealth being released. It was a sign for you, not because you chased it. Opportunities will present themselves without difficulty. They already belong to you in spirit, not because you made them. Access is not being granted to you. They're reminding you that you've always had it. You just have to come to terms with it. You haven't squandered any of your journey. Every encounter, every denial, and every hold-up was an essential improvement. The idea that you had to show yourself to be worthy was something you had to unlearn. The version of yourself that strove for approval had to go. You are now entering the comfort of knowing. You are entering the fruit of knowing that no force in the universe can stop God from bringing about a moment when He commands it. And now it comes. Unquestionably, there is a stirring in the spirit world. For those who are not aware of it, it is subtle, but for those who are sensitive and have a calling that cannot be explained, it is evident. A divine force has been roused, and you're not the only one who senses it, chosen one. The one it has been waiting for is you. The arrival of September 20th is not a quiet one. It is coming with a purpose. It's the culmination of what has been simmering within of you for years, a spiritual climax. And it's bringing with it more than just a reward or a favor. It's a sense of accomplishment an understanding of what was said to you before you could even comprehend words, before you realized what it meant to be unique. Throughout your life, there have been times when you felt lost, misinterpreted, or even out of place. You questioned why some people appear to arrive sooner and why others with greater access, less scarring, and less depth seem to have an easier time opening doors. However, timing is the answer to all of that. Furthermore, divine time, which has always functioned outside of human logic and within spiritual orchestration, is not simply any timing. Time lost will not be made up on September 20th. You're being brought back to the period that was always your own. The period of time that paused until you reached the maturity level enough to bear the next dimension of what was intended for you. This is a divine revelation, a supernatural interaction. You are moving toward fulfillment of promises that have been delayed, not because of indifference, but because of mercy. You weren't unworthy, therefore God didn't deny you. Because the importance of what is coming on this date requires the best version of you to hold it. He held them in holy trust. This is the version of you that has survived fire and recalled your anointing, not the insecure, nervous, or people-pleasing you. The one who has chosen faith despite losing everything. God never forgot the person whom many people ignored. Every celestial upheaval is preceded by a sound in the spirit. It's a sound that reverberates in the most profound parts of your soul, not one that can be heard with the naked eye. You are now surrounded by that sound. It is the affirmation that an invisible change has already occurred and that the visible will happen shortly. A sign is not what you're waiting for. You already feel the sign vibrating within you. Clarity will soon replace that silent awareness, that spiritual vigilance, and that inner serenity that knows upheaval is coming. That feeling that the quiet you've been experiencing has been prepared rather than empty. The doors that are opening on this date are not level. These doors are old, assignment-related doors that you haven't entered yet. Doors that your forefathers had hoped for but never achieved. You were the key to doors you were unaware of. That's why nothing else has worked before this. Because hustling, performance, or credentials were not the reason this door was constructed. It was locked with a frequency that could only be unlocked by your evolution, and it was etched in heaven. God was never comparing you to someone else's schedule, even if you might have felt like you were falling behind. In the hidden location, He was molding you, allowing the world to underestimate you, so that there would be no question about who did it when the doors opened. No one else can claim credit for this moment. This is God's thumbprint, unmistakable, unquestionable, and clear. The sort of innovation that eliminates the possibility of chance. You will not have to bargain for what has already been agreed upon in heaven. The kind of change that makes even your adversaries exclaim, "This had to be divine." You will not need to force your way in. What is coming is something you recognize, not something you have earned. The goal is not to do more. It's about remembering your spiritual identity and what has always been yours. The goal on September 20th is to take control rather than pursue. It serves as the link between the inheritance you are now prepared to accept and the struggle you have undergone. Because it unlocks more than just a momentary elevation. This moment is more significant than you may think. It is the beginning of a long-lasting change in your way of living, leading, and sharing your light. No one is elevating you merely to make you feel better. Because your presence, voice, and wisdom are needed in locations where integrity is now a requirement for authority, you are being elevated. You are being positioned for effect rather than comfort, for legacy rather than escape, and not for praise but authority. You have spent a great deal of your journey surviving things that others have never seen. You had a break without saying a word. You had to mend in private while celebrating others. And you stayed. You stuck to a commitment you couldn't see but couldn't abandon. Despite the fact that they weren't yours, you carried burdens. When it would have been simpler to leave, you stayed. The prize today lies not just in what you will get, but also in the person you have become as a result of the process. It is no longer a question of whether it will occur. That stage is over. Now the only question is, will you let it come to pass without regressing? Will you let yourself into this hallowed space, knowing that the version of yourself needed for this space already exists within you? Will you recognize that you are the solution someone else has been praying for and stop apologizing for your greatness? Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be with you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the world's fleeting concerns. As the Holy Bible says, everything done in faith will be rewarded by God's abundant blessings. Luke 6 verse 38. Like that mighty oak tree, our roots are deeply anchored in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stance we hold is secure by His power. And now, you have the opportunity to be a part of this blessing. When you click the Super Thanks button and make a $100 donation, this act will return to you 100-fold. Heaven has given you permission to courageously step into what you already carry on September 20th. Your spirit is not surprised by the richness that is on the horizon. It's a mirror of what you've already spoken without saying. The restoration process is not happening by accident. When no one applauded, it is a just reward for the seeds you planted. When no one paid attention, and while you were still mourning losses that no one was aware of, you're not receiving payment. They're crowning you. Being noticed by the masses has never been the goal of this moment. It has to do with getting accepted by heaven. And everything on earth has to line up when heaven shifts. You won't have to justify your ascent. Those who misinterpreted you won't require your correction. Now, you won't have to persuade anyone to believe in you. The evidence will be your life. The response will be in your favor. The loudest sermon you've ever spoken will be your results. God is doing more than simply providing for your needs. He's returning your inheritance to you. Furthermore, a soul that has been selected, tried, honed, and ultimately unleashed cannot be stopped by any amount of opposition. The release has started, and you are that soul. A moment that comes after years of waiting has a hallowed quality. The metamorphosis it conveyed was invaluable, not because the wait was fun in and of itself. Selected 1. September 20th is unique for reasons other than the fact that a blessing is on the way. This time, it's different since you're bringing it. Not the piecemeal you that required continual comfort. The you that has been created in the silent furnace of divine refinement. Not the exhausted soul who doubted every choice. The authoritative version of yourself that doesn't require attention. The version of yourself that doesn't doubt your selection. Because now the issue is answered before it is even posed by your very nature. It won't make sense for your situation when this date draws near. It's your past. In your recollection, every detour, delay, and loss that seemed arbitrary at first will suddenly fit together like parts of a puzzle. You'll start to realize that God wasn't merely providing you with pain relief. He was reminding you of your strength. Now, each spiritual wound you bear is turning into a signature, a symbol of holy purpose rather than brokenness. You're no longer the person stumbling toward a promise on September 20th. You are the one entering a ready-made space with an unstoppable presence. When people think of divine timing, they have a misperception. They anticipate it to be joyful, light, and effortless. In actuality, though, these kinds of situations are depressing. They carry a burden of accountability with them. It's the kind that grounds you rather than crushes you. Because you understand you are never only praying for a breakthrough when God starts to accomplish what He whispered to you in your desert. You are being molded into a ship that could transport powerful nations. Those countries are now on the verge of realizing the presence of your calling, the weight of your wisdom, and the sound of your voice. The 20th of September is not the end. It's a point of release. Furthermore, what is being released goes beyond simple advertising or provision. It's lucidity, strong enough clarity to clear years of internal uncertainty. Clarity that explains why taking a longer route was necessary for your journey. Why some relationships had a breakdown. Why seemingly flawless doors were actually traps. Why, even when you felt ready, God kept you concealed. Thunder and spectacle won't provide such clarity. It will come like calm, a profound understanding that serves as your new base. On that day, you won't have to work hard or prove anything. You'll just know. You'll be aware that your moment is not near. It's arrived. In your story, A boundary is being drawn between everything that occurred prior to this point and everything that follows. Even while you might not notice the entire harvest right once, there will be a noticeable change in the energy around you. Things that seemed unchangeable will start to sway in your favor. There will be signals, tiny at first, but quickly growing, to replace the quiet that formerly enveloped your prayers. The resistance that once exhausted you will no longer hold you in place because you no longer react to it in the same way, not because it disappeared. The version of yourself that sees attacks as validation of what you're carrying is replacing the version who took in every lie, every attack, and every moment of uncertainty. This elevation is not insignificant. This improvement is not a little one. God is orchestrating this generational transformation, and you are the one who has been selected to activate it. The weight has been heavy because of this. This explains why you felt lonely for longer than you would have liked. For this reason, even after the lesson was learnt, the suffering persisted. Because what's going to happen calls for a version of you that can walk gracefully while holding fire. It understands how to exercise authority without becoming conceited. It understands how to shine without devaluing others. By itself, the date is not magical. Because of what it represents, it has meaning. It symbolizes the worldly unlocking of the first discernible sign and the spiritual fulfillment of a long-standing promise. This has nothing to do with outside approval. Internal release is the key. Nothing that you didn't have previously is being provided to you. The opportunity to completely access what has always been within of you, waiting for the appropriate time to come out, is being granted to you. Now is the time, and it's critical that you comprehend this. This is not a call to simply receive. This is a reminder for you. Prior to uncertainty, keep in mind who you were. Before the world tried to persuade you that your vision was too big, your calling was too misinterpreted, or your aspirations were unrealistic, before the comparison, before the failure. Because what is about to happen on September 20th is not intended to make you feel comfortable. You're being called to stand in the fullness of your duty without hesitation or apology. It's supposed to make you indisputable. The design of heaven and your choice collide on this date. Now is the perfect time to click the Super Thanks button on YouTube and share God's blessings. You can contribute to His plan and become a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you multiplied beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessings are with you in every step you take and every donation you make. You become part of His divine plan. You are a powerful, radiant being, unshakable like His mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with this confidence and courage. Be blessed, and may the Lord's light guide your way. Your agreement with it is what makes it completely manifest, even though God has already ordained it. And you've agreed, not only verbally, but also practically, considering how you persisted, how you continued to believe, and how you wept in private but still turned up. In the spirit world, such dedication is unavoidable. And now the realm you tirelessly served without praise is reacting more quickly. It is reacting favorably. It is reacting by opening doors based on what you carry rather than who you know. Others will experience the change before they realize it. Your energy has changed. Your presence feels different. Your words have more weight, and your name is now being referenced in places where it was before rejected. These are some of the changes that others will notice. However, you won't have to describe the distinction, since you'll be aware that more than just your visibility has changed, you won't need to explain the change. It's your vibration, and as your vibration shifts, everything in your life has to adjust to the new frequency. You have never been and never will be the person you once were. The grief that characterized you in previous seasons has now transformed into the fluid that emanates from your soul. Your message is now fueled by the trauma that previously silenced you. The fact that you were never intended to fit in is now confirmed by the rejection that broke you. You were made to rise, not with pride, but with authority. To make an impression, not to impress. Your moment of emergence is September 20th. Nothing about you happened by accident. How your heart feels, how your mind functions, and how you see what others overlook. These weren't defects in the design. They were blueprints. You were purposefully wired this way by God, and that purpose is now being called to the fore. Your mission is no longer in search of you. The mission is you. And the only reason that everything is aligning at the moment is because heaven has already determined that the time has come. There will be plenty. The links will come later. The doors will open. However, the true change is taking place within you. The shift that frees you from fear and locks you into freedom is the one that declares, I no longer need the world's permission to show up as who God created me to be. You are not late for the change that declares, I am no longer waiting to be chosen. I was chosen before I was born. You're not in the rear. You're not damaged. You're on time. And everything starts to show it on September 20th. There are times when it feels like there is a divine pulse. There are times when everything slows down, not to hold you up, but to give your soul time to catch up with the spiritually active things already going on. One of the occasions is September 20th, which was chosen. There isn't a delay. A postponement is not what it is. It is the deliberate coming together of prophecy, power, and purpose. And it's not just the start of something fresh that makes this so important. It's that at last, everything outdated is being permanently abandoned. Additionally, you have no emotional baggage to hold you back. Old stories have become as much a part of you as a second skin. Scars that shaped who you are now. Disappointments that influenced how you see the world. Lost opportunities that spoke to you in the stillness of a night. However, September 20th offers more than just a breakthrough. It provides a release. Let go of the idea that your past determines your future. Let go of the fatigue that comes from attempting to fix something that no longer fits. Give up attempting to keep things together that God has already taken away. It doesn't need to be fixed now. It demands rebirth. When you at last acknowledge that you're no longer accountable for bearing burdens that God has already removed from your shoulders, that rebirth begins. You were taught to have modest expectations for years. Must reduce your expectations in order to avoid disappointment in the future. Should make your prayers smaller in order to fit what appeared feasible. Must turn off your vision to avoid upsetting other people. However, the events of this day were never intended to be a part of the limitations. It was never intended to be the same as your previous world. It was intended to move it entirely. Incremental growth is not what September 20th is about. It's about a drastic change that happens without consent. You're not being asked to be prepared. It is requesting your willingness. Willing to let go of the persona that adversity shaped. Being prepared for the possibility that your upcoming season would differ greatly from previous ones. Willing to accept the unknown because it speaks to your spirit, not because you comprehend it. Without sacrifice, no progress can be made. And the most important thing this season demands is your readiness to let go of your expectations in order to completely accept how things are really playing out. You noticed a recent increase in spiritual intensity for a cause for the heavier, more energetic, and emotionally charged atmosphere you're in. It's not anarchy. It's a transition. Your soul has been aware of the seriousness of what lies ahead. Your whole being is now getting ready to receive something that doesn't arrive in pieces as the scheduled date approaches. It arrives in its entirety. The kind of richness that makes up for years of being without. The sort of overflow that gives the impression that famine was staged. The sort of affluence that not only blesses you, but also changes how you and other people view yourself and how your name is sung by future generations. It's not just about money. Even if it includes provision, what is being offered is much more complex. You're getting your emotional richness back, joy that endures for several days, tranquility that endures despite stress, relationships in which maintaining the connection doesn't need you to shrink. Intellectual riches is emerging, thoughts that are unrestricted, strategy unlocking insights, and heavenly clarity that tell you when and where to walk. Indeed, there are manifestations of spiritual richness, unexplainable favor, presence that changes the atmospheres, and armor-like protection. However, the internal type of wealth is arguably the most exquisite, the abundance of knowledge. The riches of not having to wonder if you're deserving. The benefit of waking up without having to evaluate your own development. The wealth of knowing you are not the imposter when you enter a room. The invitation is you. You are no longer attempting to win people over. You're the perfect example of what happens when someone gives God control over their timeline. Through you, a story is being rewritten. A pattern in your family that finishes with you. A curse that is lifted the instant you embrace your own self without regret. It wasn't your request to break the bonds. The burden of repairing generations was not something you volunteered to do. However, you were selected for it. The good news is that you're not alone in bearing it. Around you, heaven has sent reinforcements. Angels who have been with you from the start are now being let loose to take action. They're no longer there to console you. Their purpose is to assist you fulfill your calling. The time when you need outside evidence to believe is over. The sign is now you. The reason the weight has been so heavy is because you have become the validation that others will look at and say, if they made it through that and still rose, then maybe I can too. Because your ascent is strategic rather than merely symbolic. Every untruth that suggested it couldn't be done is being disproved by God through your ascent. Every inherited wound that taught survival but never provided room for thriving. Every generational voice that echoed limitations. September 20th is neither a start nor a finish. It's both. It is the intersection of the genesis of everything that will serve you and the finality of what no longer does. And because of the ideal alignment, it's happening right now. The inner work has been done by you. You've disregarded outdated beliefs. Instead of blaming your past for what you didn't have, you've begun to build on who you are now. This blessing might finally fall upon you because of your maturity, growth, and profound spiritual strength. You're being challenged to get ready for overflow, the same version of yourself that once doubted your ability to rise. Not slight increments, not sporadic indications, but total change. The type from which you're not expected to recover. The sort that isn't recyclable, therefore it doesn't need to be rebuilt. It's completely new. There is an abundance like this that will make you reflect and cry. Because of how exactly everything had to shatter for you to rise as you did. Not because of what you lost. Not a single detail has been missed by God. The time is perfect. There is a specific unveiling. You're not just showing up. We are purposefully revealing you. And there is no room for guilt, shame, uncertainty, or fear in that revelation. Only heavenly confidence, authority, and surrender are allowed to accompany you through this next gate. The emotional traces of the previous season might still be present. However, don't let the echo deceive you. Already, the reality has changed. The evidence is accumulating. What once held you together no longer does. Your nervous system is no longer accessible to the things that used to frighten you. You're not merely changing. You've changed already. Just showing they're on time is the last confirmation. Additionally, the schedule is clearly inscribed in the heavens. September 20th, a profound and sacred rhythm flows via divine timing. One that human computation cannot forecast, control, or hurry. You have entered that beat, chosen one. And the sacred voice of completion is carried in the music of September 20th. It is a feeling of fulfillment. Not that everything comes to an end, but rather that a locked door eventually yields to the appropriate key. That key is you.